So Anthony Joshua has just fought Kubrat Pulev in his return to the ring after almost 1 year out. Forbes has estimated that AJ earned just over 47 million in 2020 alone. So in this video, we're gonna go over how much both Pulev and AJ cashed out on from their fight tonight. So before we look at exactly how much AJ made from his fight tonight, let's have a quick look back at some of his recent purses from some of his last few fights. As you can see, it's estimated that AJ cashed out on $60 million from his rematch with Andy Ruiz Jr. after suffering his first professional loss in their original encounter. Even though he took his first L during their first encounter, he made £25 million during that first fight just for 7 rounds of handiwork, which equates to 3.5 million for every 3 minutes he was in the ring. When you think about it, that really isn't bad for 20 minutes in the office, even though you're getting bashed around a little bit. So, $1 million question, how much has AJ made from the fight itself tonight? Well, we don't know for 100% as AJ's purse is undisclosed, whereas Pulev's has been revealed at $5 million. With all of that said, looking at previous figures and some of the recent bouts on both sides of the fence, we can definitely take at least an educated guess as to what AJ has likely taken home for tonight's work. So Kubrat Pulev is the mandatory challenger for AJ's IBF belt. And IBF rules state that typically the champion would take home 65% of a purse split, while the challenger would get 35%. As we all know, AJ doesn't do things normally, and nor does his manager, Eddie Hearn, who we all know likes a little bit of cheddar cheese in his pocket. So with that said, I'm sure Eddie's worked a little bit of magic to get AJ a healthier split in tonight's bout. So if we made the assumption that Eddie worked some magic and managed to strike a better deal, we could say that maybe AJ cashed out on 75% of the purse, while Kubrat Pulev got 25%. And if we assume that's the case, it would mean AJ's handiwork tonight cashed him out on a nice and tidy $20 million. As much as this is only 1/3 of what AJ received through his rematch with Andy Ruiz, we got to bear in mind that COVID is running rife. They could only allow 1,000 fans into the stadium compared to the 90,000 that AJ had when he fought Klitschko back in Wembley. It was estimated that AJ forfeited over £8 million of his purse to take this fight because it was during COVID-19. In a statement that AJ made just after beating Andy Ruiz Jr., he said, "When you look at it, out of every 100 quid, a lot goes to the tax man and a lot to the trainers and the team. Before you know it, what you're left with in reality is about 30 to 40%. As you can see, even though AJ is making stupid money from his boxing career, by the end of it, he only typically ends up with anywhere between 30 and 40%. Now, if you ask me, 30 to 40% of 60 million, I mean, it's hard to complain, right? But it's still something worth taking note of. With all of that said, with AJ's sponsorship deals, his brand deals and broadcasting and everything in between, it's fair to say he's gonna cash out on many more tens of millions just off the back of the fight. So that $20 million is probably only just the starting point. AJ also has a YouTube channel which now has almost 700,000 subscribers in only 2 years. He's just crushing it across the whole scene, and of course that further expands his reach and addressable earnings. I would anticipate that he's probably going to see anywhere between another $5 and $10 million just off the back of everything I've just mentioned, which really isn't too bad for someone who's still relatively new in the sport. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, please be sure to smash that like button. Let us know in the comment section below who you think AJ should fight next, and be sure to subscribe to tune in for more videos. Stay tuned.